Good afternoon. I would like to acknowledge the organizing committee for the opportunity to participate in this symposium. It is a pleasure to be here presenting the topic Body Composition in Athletic Health and Performance. I will follow this outline throughout my presentation, starting with a conceptual model linking body composition and performance. Then I will discuss several studies displaying an association between body composition with performance and injury risk, and I will finalize with the main conclusions of this presentation. Given the growing interest on functional body components, I proposed and published at the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition in 2019 an integrated model of body composition variables from different levels of analysis with impact on performance, injury risk and athletic health. The relation between performance, injury risk and athletic health with body composition is observed at the molecular level, in particular on components such as total and regional fat mass and fat-free mass, bone mineral and total body water. At the cellular level, the body cell mass. At the tissue level, skeletal muscle and adipose tissue. And finally, at the whole body level, the association between body composition with performance, injury risk and athletic health is observed with anthropometric indicators such as height, weight, limb circumference and raw bioelectrical impedance analysis parameters, including phase angle and vector analysis. Performance is expectedly linked to injury risk and athletic health, and these relations are, however, dependent on the precision and accuracy of the body composition methods, the energy balance status and the energy partition ratio, that is, the contribution of fat mass and fat-free mass to weight changes, and finally, other relevant factors such as diet, genes, environment, psychology and physiology also impact performance, injury risk and athletic health and their relationship with body composition. Let's start with some studies showing the impact of body composition on performance. Stogel and colleagues conducted a cross-sectional design in cross-country sprinters. The authors used dual energy X-ray absorptiometry, a precise and valid method of body composition assessment that I will abbreviate as DEXA, to determine fat mass and fat-free mass. As DEXA provides the assessment of both regional and total body composition, the authors observed that total and regional fat-free mass were positively associated with maximal skiing speed in cross-country sprinters, as observed in the blue lines. And on the other hand, athletes with higher levels of total and regional fat mass showed a lower skiing speed as observed in the red lines. In this cross-sectional study, the authors assessed maximal isokinetic strength of the knee during extension and flexion and of the hip during extension and flexion and during abduction and adduction using an isokinetic dynamometer in both the dominant and non-dominant leg of soccer players. The cross-sectional areas of the lower leg muscles were calculated based on magnetic resonance imaging. A higher maximal isokinetic strength was significantly associated with a higher cross-sectional area of the thigh, hip and lumbar muscles areas among soccer players. As most of the studies used the cross-sectional design to determine the relation between body composition and performance, relying on less accurate and precise methodologies to assess fat mass and fat-free mass, our group conducted a longitudinal study with elite judo athletes from a wake stable period to 1 to 3 days prior a competition with nearly 2 months apart, and assessed more body components besides fat and fat-free mass. Measurements at both moments included body composition using DEXA, dilution techniques to assess total body water, extracellular water and intracellular water, which are the reference techniques for assessing water compartments, while specific tests to assess upper body power and strength were used. Specifically, a power load spectrum was used to assess upper body power output in a bench press position, and the hand grip test was employed to determine forearm maximal strength, and these tests are highly reproducible on the performance in several techniques used in this sport to push and to grip the opponent. We analyzed which changes in body composition explain changes in power from wake stability to 1 to 3 days prior competition. The results point out that only changes in total body water and intracellular water were associated with changes in upper body power, as observed in this graph of study 1, while in study 2, athletes that lost more than 2% of forearm maximal strength compared to athletes who did not lose forearm strength were those that lost intracellular water with no other relevant differences for the remaining body components. Taken together, these studies indicated that judo athletes that decreased total body water, specifically from the intracellular water compartment, were those that decreased power and strength regardless of changes in weight and arm's length of tissue. Using another longitudinal design and with different athletes, we conducted a follow-up study in a sample of basketball, handball and volleyball players over a season. Body composition was assessed by DEXA and water compartments through dilution techniques both in the preparatory phase and at the competitive period of the season, along with specific tests to assess maximal lower body strength and jumping height as observed in the figures. Our results show that the most relevant body component whose changes were related with performance was again intracellular water. Athletes that increased intracellular water increased jumping height and maximal lower body strength, even adjusting for age, sex, sports and season length. Considering body composition and injury issues, but given the limited time allocated for this presentation, only one study will be highlighted. Nescollard and co-authors used the localized bioelectrical impedance protocol to assess muscle injury in soccer players of the Barcelona team. The study consisted of a protocol where localized electrodes were placed in non-injured and injured muscle areas of the lower limbs with the purpose of identifying changes in raw bioelectrical impedance parameters, namely resistance, reactance, and phase angle, depending on the type and grade of the injured compared to the non-injured muscles. In this figure, you can observe the non-injured limb and the injured limb. In the y-axis, we have reactance related with the amount of body cells, and in the x-axis, we have resistance related with body fluids, so less fluids, more resistance, while more fluids, as in edema, promotes less resistance. Phase angle depends on resistance and reactance, and higher phase angles are associated with better cellular health. Indeed, this figure shows that the phase angle of non-injured muscles was higher, with nearly 17 degrees compared to the injured muscles with 12 degrees, which is explained by the edema, decreasing resistance observed in the injured muscles, and to the disruption of the muscle structure, decreasing reactance. This study highlights localized bioelectrical impedance vector analysis as an alternative method to assess soft tissue injuries and to monitor the injury recovery process. Below are the main conclusions of this presentation. Most of the studies addressing the impact of body composition on performance and athletic health used a cross-sectional design. Higher values of total and regional fat-free mass are associated with higher speed, while the opposite is observed for fat mass. Increases in intracellular water assessed by dilution techniques are directly associated with improvements in power and strength, regardless of weight changes. Localized bioelectrical impedance analysis can be used to monitor recovery of injured limbs, and as body composition affects performance, injury, risk and athletic health, methods that allow total and regional fat and fat-free mass estimation, such as DEXA, or body fluid distributions such as bioelectrical impedance analysis, in particular devices enabling vector BIA analysis, should be used routinely to assess and track athletes over the season. Finally, I would like to acknowledge my research team and all the international researchers that collaborate with me on a daily basis. Thank you.